Hi, I'm Manon. This is Mrs. McCauley, and we're going to talk about the Hunger Games.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited. I'm super pumped. We've never met each other before, and already she's already got me a bunch of books that now I have to read. Basically, I put Hunger Games on the list because I felt like it was something that the kids could really relate to. I thought it was really high interest. To be fair, I did not think the rest of the trilogy really held up, but I thought the first one was pretty solid. And while I do understand why people compare it to Battle Royale, which was a book by a Japanese author, it was banned in the United States until fairly recently. I do think that it has kind of its own spin on it that I enjoy, and I'm pretty much really looking forward to the movie.
I am too. I like the casting, but let's not get into that.
Oh, sorry.
So,
I'm sorry.
What I like about the Hunger Games is that it's a dystopia, and I'm really into dystopias because I'm really into history, and dystopias are kind of like taking historical fiction to like a completely different level and adding in like the science fiction and making it something that you kind of take an idea from history and turn it into a whole different world that's kind of like our own, but much, much worse.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like the dystopian literature is especially popular under like fascist regimes, like George Orwell, 1984 and whatnot. I really feel like the stuff coming out lately has been really pretty fantastic. It's hard with reading adult literature because sometimes it's really bad. Like it's poorly written, or the characters aren't really fleshed out, or they just don't go where they need to go. And one of the things I like about the Hunger Games is that it does. Some of the other dystopian literature on the list, like, you have to read Unwind. Like, if you haven't read Unwind, you have to read Unwind. Unwind is unbelievable. It's absolutely amazing. I also had, but it may not still be on it, Anthem, which is by Ayn Rand, who was really big into dystopian literature. They also was Feed. Feed was a really popular selection from last year. Had you read that?
I haven't, but I've gotten mixed reviews on that because some people have told me that it's like really good, and I've had other people say that it's like they were expecting so much more, like they were expecting it to be a lot more dramatic, like it didn't live up to what they thought it was.
Well, keep in mind, reading it for like the way that spelling is destroyed alone is totally worth it. So if you're like, wow, that makes me sad that that's misspelled, you should read that book. It's pretty awesome. Back to the Hunger Games. So what was the point of the book where it really caught you?
Well, I was told by a million people that I had to read this book. So, like, they didn't even give me any information on what it was about. They just told me, pick it up and read it, don't even read the back.
Yeah.
So, I started, and I think it got me, the very first bit was kind of slow because because she was alone, so you didn't really see, like, where the other people were, and I was having trouble grasping, like, what her world was like the technology, because everything around her seemed to be so old-fashioned, but then there was also this, like, huge high-tech stuff, and I was trying to figure out, like, where that separated and, like, what the boundaries of that was, but, it kind of got me when they get into the Capitol, and everything kind of gets compared between District 12 and the Capitol, and things start getting a lot more competitive, and she learns a lot more about herself and like what they're actually doing.
I really think the idea of the different districts was really neat. And oh my gosh, I'm sorry. What's the name of the girl that dies? But that
Rue?
Rue. I love Rue. Oh, sorry. Is that a spoiler that she dies?
All right.
Okay.
Well, just put a spoiler warning in the beginning of this. Like, maybe I'll just like face the camera and just be like, warning to anyone who has never read The Hunger Games, this contains spoilers. I don't know, something like that.
But Rue, I love Rue, and like later on when that comes back up, I think the idea of district pride was really interesting because I feel like now in our country there's so much like state pride, like I'm from Massachusetts or I'm from Texas, and I really kind of got that. I felt what really kind of got me into the book was Katniss's frustration with her mother and how useless her mother is. That's when I got into it because I felt really bad for Katniss because she has all of this stuff and she has to step up. She has to provide for the family, and I overall really enjoyed that. One of the things that I like but I don't like about the books is how I feel like Katniss is really manipulative, and I think that it's good because I think that she's a very interesting and flawed character. But sometimes I get sick of her. Like sometimes I'm like, I just want to hear about PETA. I don't even care what you're up to.
The thing about like Katniss is that she's one of those characters that if you know, like, if you see her as a book, you might like her and you might not. But if you met her as a person, I don't think I'd like her at all.
No, she'd be
Because
awful. She'd be such a snot.
She's like, she always seemed angry about something. Like she
Yeah.
couldn't just get along.
Yeah.
She always had something that she was angry about. And obviously there's a lot to be angry about in her life. But people like that bother me.
No, she's ridiculous. And she drove me crazy. And then what were the District 2 kids, like Glitter and whatever?
Glimmer and I know this.
Yeah, what is his name? Sorry, after a while they all kind of start to be
Yeah.
the same.
What I noticed about the District 12 though, that I thought was really weird was like she said at like the very beginning that people that were from Katniss's area all had like the dark skin and the gray eyes and the black hair. The only
Yeah.
people that were ever described that had those traits were Katniss and Hawthorne's.
Yeah.
Madge had blonde hair and blue eyes. Haymitch had blonde hair, blue eyes. Katniss's entire family had
Oh,
blonde hair and
Heyman.
blue
Oh my
eyes.
God, Heyman. She was a hot mess.
Actually, I think he had brown hair, but he did have blue eyes.
I think, you know
And
what,
it's like
I
every-
basically, in my mind, when I think of him, I think of Hagrid. I think of a drunk Hagrid.
Actually, have you seen the guy who's gonna play him in the movie?
Yes,
He's perfect.
he is perfect.
Like the bony cheeks and like the bright blue
Yep.
eyes. It's perfect.
No, I'm into it. And can we talk about the casting for a second? Because
Yes.
Jennifer Lawrence is so adorable. Like, I love her.
I was really worried. Mr. Wyndham actually came up to me before homeroom and he's like, "Are you calm, Manon?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I just rolled out of bed, but kind of." And he's like, "Do you think you can remain calm?" And I'm like, "What's about to happen?" So we go into the classroom and he's like, "I need to show you something." So I think that like my house just burned down and they just called Mr. Wyndham to tell him to tell me or something like that. And he pulls out this like, piece of paper and puts it face down on his desk and pushes it toward me and he's just like, "Look when you're ready." And I'm like, "Oh." So then I turn it over and it's this picture of Jennifer Lawrence with the big blonde hair and the like blue eyes, or I guess gray eyes, but like, you know, dressed up for like
The Emmys,
the
the red
Emmys
dress.
or something.
I know what you're talking
and I'm
about.
just like, who is this girl? Like, why are you showing me this picture of this girl? And he's like, "That's Katniss Everdeen." And I'm just like,
I know.
and
it's-
then he gave me a picture of her when they came out with the Entertainment Weekly. He actually gave me the picture. And it's like, that is Katniss.
No, she's perfect. I love her. I loved her in Winter's Bone. She's so good. If you haven't seen that movie, you should absolutely see that movie. It's so good, but it's so sad. It's so scary. I definitely don't want to live in the Ozarks. But I think that she's really good because she was so good as Mystique in X-Men First Class, which is my favorite X-Men movie to date. It was so unbelievable. It was so good. And one of the girls, Levin Ramblin's in it, which I'm pretty excited about. I think it's going to be Glimmer, which I'm pretty pumped about it. Now, what has the PETA kid been in?
He was in Journey to the Center of the Earth. He was like the nephew.
Mm-hmm.
He was in, I think he was the guy in Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh my God, I love Bridget Terabithia.
He was the guy with the dark hair.
Yeah.
He was in a bunch of things. He's actually pretty popular.
All right.
Like I was kind of like nervous about whether he'd make a good Peter or not, but he's okay as a blonde.
Yeah.
But there was one guy. He was a British actor, but he could do an American accent, and he had the PETA personality, like he did himself, and he posted a video on YouTube where he just like responded to all the emails he'd gotten about how they thought he should be PETA, and he was like, "Oh, I read the book; it's really good. I think I'd make I kind of relate to him, just like describing like what he thinks he's like, and I was just saying that like he's perfect, but he didn't get it.
No, that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I find the fact that both PETA and Gail are so into Katniss sort of strange because I think go back to what you said before. Like she's kind of not really likable. Like I find her kind of
she's
scary.
kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, but I do think that I could see how PETA and Katniss's relationship evolves.
Oh yeah.
I like the idea of the sponsors, and I like the idea of everybody watching this on TV. Now, to be fair, I mean, it's sort of like a ripoff of an X-Men story from like the 80s. It's Mojo and whatever. Mojo. Like Mojo, but that's fine. That's fine. I do like how it's tied into The Most Dangerous Game, which most people here read as ninth graders, correct?
Yeah. The short story. Where,
the short story. He gets
the
hunted.
hunter. Yeah.
There's also a pretty sweet Ice-T movie. I think it's called Surviving the Game, which is The Most Dangerous Game, but with Ice-T from Law and Order SVU. It's pretty awesome. But I like how it ties into a lot of different things, and yet I would disagree with people that say that it's a ripoff of anything because it incorporates so much different
The
stuff.
thing is, like, you can take any piece of literature and say that it's ripping off this, it's taking this idea from this character is totally from this. Like, you can do that for everything. Like, have you read The Mortal Instruments?
No, I'm going to write that down.
You need to. But...
Wait, who wrote that?
Cassandra Clare.
The Mortal Instruments.
Ask Mr. Howell about it. All of my friends started reading it my freshman year, so he had the publisher actually sent us some copies of the books.
Ooh. Oh, wait, so who's the writer?
Cassandra Clare, Clare.
I'm taking Dubs to the library today after school, so I can pick all this up.
But she's a big Harry Potter fan, and a lot of people say that her two main male characters, one who's a dark-haired nerd and the other one is a gorgeous blonde guy, are Draco and Harry.
Who says that Draco is handsome? Who says that?
Exactly.
Tell me. He's gross.
But,
he's all snivelly.
Yeah, but the characters are so much different than, like, you can't even compare. Maybe, like, the appearances a little bit, but otherwise you just can't even compare. But, like, anything, especially when it's, like, science fiction or fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, you know, fairies, vampires, there's only so much you can do with that kind of stuff. Like, the mythology, there's only so much you can change.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? It's so funny that you bring that up with fantasy because one of the books that I put on the list, Graceling by Kristen Cashore.
I read that.
It's amazing!
Wait, let's move on to that one.
Oh my
now.
God, can we totally?
Okay.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Okay. Does the library have a copy of
It totally does. Can
All right,
you
I'll
get a
go
copy of that?
grab it
Yeah.
again. Hi, I'm Manon. This is Mrs. McCauley, and we're talking about Graceling.
Oh my gosh, I love this book. I added to the list. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it so much. We just were talking about some of the pacing issues in it, but it's so good. I love Katniss. I love Poe. I love Poe. It's so awesome. All right,
You just
so
said Katniss.
I said Katniss. I'm
She
sorry.
loves Katza.
I love Katza. I like her better than Katniss. Sorry, it's all the K names. This was kind of a year for empowered K female characters. Katniss, Katza.
I noticed that. It was just like it kind of bugged me because like I read this. I think I read this before I read the Hunger Games. Either that or it was like the first book of Hunger Games, then this, then the second book of Hunger Games. But like this book kind of bothered me. Like there was something about the characters I just didn't like. I liked Poe most of the time, but something about Katza, I can't remember exactly what it was, but something really bothered me.
Well, that is craziness because this book is amazing.
It is a good book.
It is.
I'll give it that.
It's an excellent book. The follow-up book, Fire, not that good.
No.
It was.
I got it. I was reading it, and it was just like.
It was ridiculous.
I haven't finished it. I'm only like that much through, but it's like, it just the character had no personality.
No, she's so lame, and she's like a monster, and
the
she's so
problem is,
hot. Blah, 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 blah.
The thing is, when like when like a romance in a book, either they already know each other and it develops into a romance,
From friendship, yeah.
or they meet each other and it develops into a romance, or maybe it was like already kind of a romance, but then they actually it became like so much more than that.
Yeah.
But like from the start, they're already a thing. Like,
Yeah.
There's no getting to know each other or like finding out that they're in love. It's just they're already a thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're like an old married couple.
No, I agree. I agree with you. But that's what's different about this. It's so sweet because you don't see it coming really, and it's adorable.
I saw it coming just because I knew it was.
Well,
gonna
yes, well, of
happen,
course,
'cause
I mean, you
it's a
see it
book.
coming, but it's amazing. I mean, but it's so excellent. It does again have a little bit of a pacing problem. Like after they go their separate ways, and I don't mean that like a spoiler. It's just that there's two different paths that they take. But
To get back together,
but then before they reconvene. But I just thought it was so lovely. And Katza has so many like emotional problems because she thinks that the only thing that she's good for is murdering people. And honestly, there's so much good killing and action in this book. I was a big fan. Big fan of the killing and the action. Big fan.
The part when they're like going over the mountain, that bored me to tears.
Oh my God, it was so boring. She like carried him because she's like super strong, and it was like, you know what? For a while, I can understand. You know what annoyed you about Katza is that she's like Wolverine in the Marvel universe, and like Wolverine is sort of, in a way, sort of a boring character because there's nothing that can really hurt him besides cutting his head off, and it's like, oh well, it's like Superman. It's like they can do everything, and so therefore they're kind of boring.
I think what annoyed me was that she's got this huge like, she can do anything. But she hates herself, and she's just like, she's always like so angry at herself.
But that's why she needs Poe. That's why she needs
Oh.
Poe. That's why they balance each other out.
That's true. It's just like, bugged me for so long. Well, I definitely like the action. I like the whole Graceling thing. I think that's
I thought that was
cool.
awesome. What would your Graceling power be? Graceling is like a superhuman ability that like you can do better than anybody else. What's your Graceling be?
I had a really good one that
Ours is totally reading books. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I have like a history Graceling, I think. Not like a history,
Really?
but like maybe I have like a remembering useless facts nobody cares about Grace.
Nice.
Because it's like I was at a party once and somebody like mentioned something and about like they were just like saying, I wonder why blah 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 blah, and I just went on this like monologue for a good 10 minutes where I explained like the entire history of like how this came to be, like why we use this word instead of this other word or some idiom or something weird like that. And I just like
That's awesome.
for like 10 minutes I just went on explaining like how it evolved and why they use it and what language it comes from, and everybody's just like, okay, shut up.
My Graceling, I think, is doing my own thing. I always do my own thing, whether it's on purpose or accidentally.
I think my Graceling might be like Graceling is a person. The Grace is like what you do, right?
Oh, that's true. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Okay,
had
so
the
my
wrong word.
Grace would be like being absolutely nothing like anyone you've ever met before.
That's your Grace.
Yes. Like somebody was introducing me to somebody and they're like, the one thing you can always say about Manon without any trace of doubt is that she is absolutely nothing like anyone you've ever met before. Like she's just completely unique in every way. And I'm like, I like that. I'm not sure if it's a compliment, but I'll take it as one.
I know. I don't know. I don't know either. I think it's a compliment, though. I think it's a compliment. Although I don't know, when they say that you're absolutely unlike anybody else, that means
Coach
I don't
Lonergan,
know. I'm
could you
looking like for
contact
extra
the main
arms and
office,
things.
please?
like
Coach
that.
Lonergan?
Oh my gosh, Mr. Lonergan should be here to talk about books. You should talk about.
Maybe he
talk
should
about-
guest star next time.
He should totally guest star. You should talk about graphic novels with Mr. Benasia. Now, how are you with graphic novels? Can we talk about
Thing
those
is,
for a minute?
I
I'm about to hear something I don't like, aren't I?
no.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm ready.
I haven't read them very often because when I get into like a genre of something, like I got into anime over the summer because somebody gave me a show,
Yeah.
like how to watch it, and then like made me watch it.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I got into it. Like I have to get into something because somebody else kind of pulls
So
me
are
into
you
it.
saying that I can make? So I'm going to make you read a graphic novel,
If
and then
you
you'll
give
read
me
them
a
all.
graphic novel you think I will like,
Okay, let's do it
Right
now.
now,
I'm gonna
I
get
will
up.
start-
You can keep rolling. Keep rolling.
yeah, keep going. If she gives me a graphic novel right now that she thinks I would like, I will read it, and then read every single other one that's anything like it.
All right. Hold on, but I don't want to give you something that's just like everything else. I want it to be like.
As anything like it.
Yeah. Well, there's one over here that I love, but I hate all the other ones that the guy wrote. But can I give you that
Sure.
one anyways? All right. But I don't want you to read anything else by him.
All right.
Not that I want to be mean to Doug Pineapple, but I just don't want you to read any of his other stuff because this is the only book that you should read.
All right.
It's
I
so
will
good.
have Mr. Lawton check it out for me.
Oh, it's so cute. Let me show you
Yes.
my favorite. I'll show everyone my favorite part. Here, you keep talking. I'll just look.
Alright.
So what anime were you watching?
Like a variety. She had me watch a couple, but the main one was Full Metal Alchemist because it's a lot like Leviathan.
Yes, Full Metal Alchemist is pretty awesome. In my TV class, a student did a presentation on Full Metal Alchemist. It was unbelievable. It was so good.
It's cool because like I like the technology and the whole like it's so much like Leviathan
Yeah.
that like it almost got me over like the bridge between Behemoth and Goliath, which is coming up today.
Nice, very nice. Well, now I already wrote down Leviathan. Question. Now, Scott Westerfeld, is that the guy that wrote Uglies and Pretties?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, because I loved Uglies and
'Cause
Pretties.
it's like it's got the same like it's really like exciting and stuff,
Mhm.
but it's so much different. The style is totally different.
Okay.
Like he's trying out all this new stuff. It's illustrated by
I
Keith
like that.
Thompson, who's really amazing.
As amazing as this. So cute. You know what attracts the main character to the girl? Her atrophied hand and her amblyopic eye. So cute. They're in love. And there's like zombies and werecats and and aliens. It's so good. The rest of them are terrible though. They have these really strange overtones that I'm not comfortable with. But this is so good. You should read this. The one I was looking for was I Kill Giants, which you should read. Miss Maycomb read that for
I
summer
actually
reading.
put that on my list for 4th grade going into 5th grade. It was also on my list for 8th grade going into 9th grade.
Yeah, you got to read it.
It was like my
It's
second choice.
unbelievable. Oh my gosh. Miss Maycomb and I had a really good conversation about like different types of artists, and there's like Japanese artists
Daria
and
White, please report
Brazilian
to the main
artists
office.
and like American American artist, and it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. It like makes my whole heart happy. All right, so the Mortal Instruments. But yes, you should definitely read this. It's like interesting and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what I'm into. I mean, there's more gritty stuff. There's the art in the Gunslinger Born, which is it's based on the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. Do you read much Stephen King?
No.
Well, the books themselves are like kind of out of time. What?
Stephen King.
Oh yeah, no, I love
Yes.
Stephen King. But Stephen King is sort of like, it's sort of just disjointed. It's really interesting, but it's out of order. And the retellings of them by Peter David and Robin Firth are kind of, and the art's by Jay Lee. It's amazing. Like, oh my gosh, the art is so beautiful, and it tells the story of Roland, and it's so awesome. And the art just really makes it so much better. Because otherwise, it could just be like, I don't know. Sometimes I get a little worried about like basically like fan fiction of Stephen King stuff, but it's so good.
I think actually, I'm not sure about this. This might be somebody else I'm thinking of, but for like internet fan fiction, Stephen King might have been one of the authors that banned it.
Really?
There are some authors that it's like in their contracts, and it's on like fanfiction.net the rules, and it's on the rules of a lot of other websites
Yes! Oh,
that you're not
alright.
allowed to write fan fiction for this author's works.
One of my students is, showed me stuff from fanfiction.net, and yes, you're right. I think that
I
it
know.
is on the list.
Anne Rice is. I think.
Who's going to be copying Anne Rice?
Yeah.
Her stuff, it just got ridiculous. Like Memnoch the Devil, stupid. Oh, excuse me. That was rude. If you like it, that's fine. It's
Alright.
terrible.
And then there was a few others that I like never heard of, but
Yeah.
like if I had heard of them, it's like from like adults, and it's like most fan fiction authors, not all, but most are teenagers. That's who's into it.
Yeah, except like the super creepy stuff, which is not on fanfiction.net.
Mm-hmm.
Which you probably have to go trolling for. No, I agree with you. The thing, sometimes I find fan fiction stuff, like with the Twilight fan fiction, like it's just so creepy and ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know.
Some of that's really bad, and then some of it, it's like, some of it's like really really good, and then like it makes you like the book even more.
Yes.
Like that's like some people like are always ragging on fan fiction because they think it's like the worst kind of literature there is.
Isn't it such a compliment
but
though
the
that you
thing
want to
is-
add? You want to
yeah.
add to the
And
person's
also,
world?
Like, for like the person writing it, it's like kind of almost like a writing exercise. Like you get better at it from that.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Speaking of, and I just totally lost my train of thought. And it was going to be, if summer reading, I'm not putting Twilight stuff back on summer reading. Because you know what? If you read it, you've read it. Like, you've read it.
Mhm.
You're going to see the movies.
think the-
You're going to see, oh my gosh, the fourth one is so creepy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
super creepy. She's drinking the blood out of the juice box. That's disgusting.
Um,
I was
but-
over it.
Isn't the Twilight reading level like fourth grade?
It's not very tricky.
something like
But
that?
did you read The Host?
No, but
The
I
Host
have
is
it, and
pretty
I really
good.
want to read it. I'm gonna read it.
It's
Like when I
pretty
get the time to sit down and like
Yeah,
read it.
no, it's
Because
pretty-
I've heard that it's like nothing like
It's
Twilight.
nothing like
It's got
Twilight.
like a
No,
really
it's-
good plot, and it's like
It's super
Got a nice-
interesting.
yeah.
It's super interesting. Like the idea of these little aliens being parasites is it's sort of like a teen version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm pretty into it. I think it's pretty good. I love Twilight. I was only not on Team Jacob because I like Jacob and I didn't want him to be in that creepy codependent relationship because Bella is maybe the most annoying person ever
Oh,
to
yeah.
exist in literature.
Mhm.
She's worthless.
Mhm.
She's terrible. She's
Yeah.
terrible. And the only thing that makes the movies like Kristen Stewart, not a very good actress, totally makes Bella like, oh no, all these people like me. Like, it just works. But, oh my god, those movies. The movies, like, Taylor Lautner took off his shirt to like when she hit her head on the rock, and I was done. I tapped out. I was like, I'm done with these movies. Done with these movies.
Yeah.
And, but
I was kind of into it like 7th grade when the movies first came out and my friends were like all obsessed with it. I read the first one and was kind of into it, and then I read the other ones and I was like, this just gets worse and worse. And then finally like the movies come out and I'm just like, and then all my friends were obsessed with it. I actually exiled myself from the lunch table, telling them that I would not sit with them again until they could have conversations that didn't have anything to do with Twilight.
I know. No, it became. See, for me, it's a little bit weirder since my friends are, significantly older than you guys, and they were talking about them like they're real people, and I was like, we need to hold the
Yeah.
phone. We need to hold the phone. Let's.
When I was in middle school, I was into like the Night World books, which is by L.J. Smith. She wrote them in like the early *90s.
Yes.
But I would be like looking.
Those came out when I was in high school.
Those were my foster stepaunt was really into them, and she told me to read them because she's like mid-20s right now, I think.
Yeah.
And she says that when she was like 13, she would call the publishing company every single day, then every single week, then every single month, and now it's like once a year to see when the last book in the series is coming out. Because she's still writing it. She's been working on it for like 13 years.
Oh, that's like what happened like with Robert Jordan when Robert Jordan died, and then all of a sudden like they're like, what about the last book? What about the last book?
She's still working on it.
Yeah.
Like she just can't figure out how to end it, and she's like actively working on it.
Well, you know what? That's good. If she doesn't know how to end it, she should just kind of wait. That was one of the things that I had problems with the Hunger Games, to bring it around, was that I felt like she didn't know how to end it, and she just ended it, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I know she was trying to, like, churn out the last book, probably, because there was so much buzz, but really? I mean, at the end, I can't even tell you who any of the politicians were. I can't tell you, like, I can tell you that somebody important dies, I can tell you that an important relationship ends,
For the
but...
Hunger Games?
Yeah, for the Hunger Games, but I can't remember why.
There was a President Snow, and then there was President Coin, and I think she killed both of them.
I know.
I know she shot.
Spoilers.
She shot Coin. Yeah. Sorry,
Spoilers.
guys.
Spoilers.
But that the whole like politics thing bugged me because it's like Coin was so obviously the villain,
Yeah.
or one of the villains, and Snow was so obviously a villain. Like I don't.
Isn't it like nowadays, though? There's no politicians you can trust. There's
It's
nobody
true, but like
likable.
the thing is, everybody's got like their upsides and their downsides. These guys just kind of had the downsides.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh my gosh. I'm all worked up. Thinking about Twilight made me so angry. I'm sorry.
That's how I get that way with Twilight, and I get that way when like people try to compare books that I think are really good to Twilight, especially if they haven't read them. One thing I hate the most is when people say that they're a Harry Potter hater when they've never read the books and never watched the movie. You don't hate Harry Potter, you hate the crazy fandom.
Yeah.
It's okay to hate people that are obsessed with it. Like, it's okay to like Twilight, but then hate the Edward fangirls, because they're creepy.
They're super
But,
creepy.
like, you can't say I hate Harry Potter when you've never experienced Harry Potter.
I know. How can you
It's
say
like-
that? What
Mrs.
about
Lovick,
Marvel?
please
That's
contact
like
the main office. Mrs.
People telling
Lovick.
me that they hate sushi when they've never tried it.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
it's not
sushi.
like fish sticks at all.
Yeah.
Raw fish meat doesn't taste anything like that stuff. And sushi isn't defined by raw fish.
Yeah.
It's like an art.
It is not. So true. So true. No, the stuff about like the hating those. I mean, I understand, but how can you hate the last Harry Potter book? The last Harry Potter book was so good. The last Harry Potter book was so good. That's why I hated the Harry Potter movie, the last one.
I didn't even watch Deathly Hallows Part 1 or 2. I'm going to see them eventually. But the thing is,
you need
to go
to
to
be-
like
you
a
need to-
movie, unless I like really need to see it, like Hunger Games, I'm going to, whether I have
Yeah.
to go alone or not.
Yeah.
But I have to have somebody ask me to go with them. I can't just like be like, or I can't like get
You
a group
can't just
together.
get 'em- why can't
Unless
you do
I've got like movie passes or something. I just feel so weird doing that.
You feel weird asking
And I
people to
was,
go to the movies.
but I was in
That's
Maine.
a little weird.
But I don't know.
That's a little weird.
That is weird.
So that's always really great because we usually really dislike the movies and then we always have a lot to say about them. I just really feel like for the last Harry Potter, like for Deathly Hallows Part 2, is that like they took all the things I really loved and they made them terrible. Like how Ron and Hermione get together. Lame. Where's Dobby? Did Dobby die from nothing? What was that? I mean, I love Neville, but when did Neville all of a sudden become John McClane from Die Hard? He looked ridiculous. Like, he looked like a 40-year-old man. The thing with the snake was dumb. I
Because
was like-
the weird thing about like the Harry Potter movies is that they picked the kids when they were like 11,
Oh,
12,
yeah.
and 13
Let's talk about
with
Ron.
absolutely
Ron's haircut.
no idea what they were going to look like in 9 years.
I agree.
Like you can't tell, like you can't look at an 11-year-old and be like, she's gonna look like this and he's gonna look like that. They have to like guess.
But at the same time, you can't recast them. It's like
Exactly.
who else could be Hermione besides Emma Watson? I really feel like we got away from talking about books. But don't worry, we'll come back at another time to talk about books. We'll be talking about more of them. Although I'm going to say right now that I don't think that we can meet again until you've read Will Grayson, Will Grayson. Because Will Grayson, Will Grayson is basically the best thing ever.
I will read Will Grayson until Goliath shows up on my doorstep. Then I will be completely occupied by Goliath and won't touch anything else. And then I will finish it.
I will take that. That's fine. You don't even have to take Creature Tech right now if you're going to pinky swear right now that you're going to read Will Grayson, Will Grayson.
It is in my library.
Nice.
I have a walk-in closet in my basement that is my library.
Let's do it.
And then I have people write book quotes and their signatures and stuff on the walls because it's just like plywood painted over yellow or whatever.
That's
So,
awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon to talk more about books and movies and anything else that we feel like.
See ya.